Hey, you've been listening and nodding along thinking, I'll start speaking when I feel more ready. But here's the truth: clarity and confidence, they come from doing. That's why I created In Demand, my monthly membership for people just like you who are ready to grow their business with speaking. Even if you're not sure what to do, where to find opportunities, or what to say once you get that opportunity, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. And we'll make sure that you don't do it alone. Doors are open now, and our next live call is coming up. So if this has been tugging at you, consider this your sign. You can join us at speakandstandout.com/IND for In Demand, and that link is down below. Your audience is waiting. And I promise the moment that you step up, the right people will start paying attention to you. Happy Thursday, everyone. It's another speaker breakthrough session. I'm your host, Laurie-Ann, and this is Be in Demand. This is the podcast that is all about how to leverage public speaking events as your best form of marketing so that you can showcase your expertise, get positioned as the expert, and why not monetize your message at the same time. So today I have an old friend. I think I've been on your podcast many years ago. And
Yes.
so, what a pleasant surprise that you are now on mine. Gary, welcome to Be in Demand.
Oh, thank you so much, Laurie-Ann. It's not only good to, be on with you, but it's just great to connect again. It's been a while, but you're right. You were on my podcast, and now I guess turnabout is fair play.
That's right. So, Gary, I know that you're from your application, there's a little bit of a pivot that's going on in your business. Can you just share with me what you're doing today?
Yeah, originally was a business consultant, life and financial coach, and now I'm at a point where I'm shifting, I'm pivoting my business into, of all places, men's ministry.
Mhm.
Taking the skills that I have, because one of the things that I've discovered is that men really struggle with leadership. And so I really want to use the skills that I've developed over the years to help men step into positions of leadership and really understand what leadership is about so that they can lead effectively.
Okay, I love that. Um, when did this shift sort of take?
It's been coming for the past 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
It's I think, you probably heard the old story that, you get to a point in your career, especially as you get older, where you sit back and say, "Is this all there is?"
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at, okay, for the rest of the time that I have, I'm 72 years old. For the rest of the time I have on this earth, where can I add the most value? And that is the answer that has been coming up really consistently.
Okay. So have you started to work in this new area?
I'm starting to, yes. I am working, putting up a new website. It's not up yet. I'll be starting a podcast over the next couple of months. And I have engaged with some local men's groups. I've got a speaking engagement booked in November. And I'm starting to do engaging with some Bible studies and church groups and that sort of thing to get myself known, as I'm transitioning sort of out of the business arena.
Okay. Love that. Okay. Thank you. So, what would you like to get out of our time together?
I really just want to um, make sure that I'm doing things right and exploring all of the possibilities. I don't want to leave any stone unturned. But at the same time, there's only 24 hours in a day, so I really want to be being very intentional, very focused, very effective in the things that are really going to benefit me, are really going to produce results.
So, the biggest bang for your buck.
Exactly.
Okay. So, what's been getting in the way right now?
Um, Me, making the shift, and I think facing some of the age old challenges of, hey, you're 70 years old. Do you really have the energy to start something new again? And I'm venturing into, even though I've been in the business world and I've, know a lot of people, it's venturing into the ministry world and dealing with pastors and church leaders and things like that is a different world. And it's a real challenge to be able to get through to them and convince them of the needs that are there, because so many of the churches that I've talked to, the pastors there, it's sort of like they suffer from the not invented here syndrome. If it wasn't my idea, it can't possibly be any good. Uh,
Um,
and so it's a challenge to break through those barriers, and I'm struggling a little with how to do that.
okay. Curious, what kind of churches are you having conversations with?
Everything from the Catholic Church to a number of different Protestant churches. Um, yeah, and just trying to, it seems like, I mean, the statistics really bear it out. If you look at it at any given Sunday, 70% of church attendance is women. And of the 30% of men that are there, only about 10% of them are actually really engaged in doing anything within the church. And so I think that either pastors don't see the need for it, or they've sort of tried in the past and they've given up on reaching the men. And yet the men are the real keys to being able to bring their families and really enrich the church. So that's what I'm trying to get people to wake up and see.
Okay, what about your own church?
Uh, right now, I'm actually in transition from one church to, we're looking for another one, because the church that we were going to, the fellow who was the senior pastor there was a dear friend of mine, and an amazing, amazing, godly man. He has retired, and the church has gone in a woke direction, which I don't believe is the right way to go. And I've had some conversations with people there and have just come to the conclusion that it's time for us to part ways.
Okay, okay. I was hoping that you might be able to start in your own church, but it sounds like that opportunity has passed.
Yes.
The one thing that comes to mind for me is how we use our warm market and the people that we do know. So, have you reached out to other male friends of yours who might be like go to some other churches to see if there's a way for you to get in and at least start to have a conversation with the either the head minister, the head pastor about the needs of the church?
I have done that a little bit. I need to do it more. But yes, and I also have one pastor in particular is a fellow who I was his business coach for 7 years, and so he and I have connected on working together to do some stuff. There is a national ministry called Iron Sharpens Iron, and I he is now the education director for Iron Sharpens Iron, and so I'm working with him. He's introducing me to some people, and I'm also helping him to lead some Bible studies, in the area of men's engagement.
Okay. So that's do you have any other friends similar to that?
No, I don't. I do have a number of friends who go to church, so I'm trying to plug into them, but nobody who's at the level or has the lay of the land the way he does.
Mm. Okay. And I'm thinking of other men's groups. Are there, and I know somebody who just started a podcast and he does, very similar, like very Christian ministry type, um, type businesses. Like he would be somebody that I could connect you with, to possibly be a guest on his podcast. And, and maybe vice versa later on when you start your podcast, especially since you're an experienced podcaster and speaker. I think the biggest thing is from what you've told me, so you've got a booked event in November. Can you tell me about that event?
Yeah, it's going to be an event with about 200 men at a local church here in Connecticut, and it's just a one day event. They schedule in, I think, four speakers
Mhm.
for the day, and the theme over the last 4 or 5 years has been building the wall of protection around families, and
Mm.
he wants me to come in and talk about purpose, and help the guys to be able to see where God is calling them and how their skills and passions can be combined to do great things.
Now, do you have a speech that's already written?
No,
Okay, so
no,
that's on your list.
I'm working. Yeah, that's on my list of things to do.
Okay. Do you have, because I know that you're an experienced speaker, do you have like a process, like here's what I do before I speak? And, and I mean more so with I have a meeting with the people who booked me. I know that like 2 weeks ahead of time, like there are certain things like you're just like checking off the boxes.
I, as a matter of fact, after we get done, I have to run to a board meeting, and then tonight I'm having an introductory phone call with the guy who's running this event. And I told him, I said, I have a bunch of questions I want to ask you as far as the venue and the what you're expecting from me. What's the desired result? So that I can make sure that I'm hitting the target for you and your group, and just getting a sense and what kind uh, of technology do you guys have in the church? Is it something where I can throw up a video, or or some brief slides and stuff like that as I talk to sort of hit things, or is this just stand at the podium type of thing? And I get down into the granular, even, what kind of microphones do you have? Do you have a mic I can wear so I can use my hands, or am I going to be tied to a cord, and I get 6 feet away from the podium and I can't go anywhere?
Yeah.
Those sorts of things. So yeah, I've got a whole process that I'll go
Okay.
through.
Fantastic. And I also want you to let him know, and you can decide on whether or not to do this now, but you let him know what your post-event process is also. So you should be having like some sort of a follow-up meeting. You guys could book that now or at another meeting that gets closer to November. Just letting him know, like, like there's going to be some sort of a post-event process. You're going to want to have a follow-up meeting with him. If he has a survey that goes out to people, you want to be able to review that information. Just being able to let him know, like, you're a professional. But there's two other really important big things that I want you to make sure that he understands ahead of time that you're going to be asking for this. And one is you'll be asking him for a testimonial.
Mhm.
And then you'll also be asking him to refer you to two other places, two other men's groups, two other churches who do similar things so that you can basically, this is how we turn one event into two, and then those two turn into four, and so on and so on.
Mhm.
Okay, so
That's excellent advice.
having that post-event process, and I love all of the questions that I know that you're going to ask, especially about their tech and their setup, and I want to know if they're going to videotape it.
They do, yes.
Fantastic,
And
and you're going to
I've
get a
already
copy of that.
told him I want to get it. I've already told him that I want a copy of it that I can slice and dice, to use for, for my purposes.
Good. How many cameras are they going to have?
I think they have three.
Good. So are you being paid for this by any chance?
No, no, this is
Hey,
a free.
the video alone with 3 cameras will be gold for you. So here's what I'm seeing can happen. You focus so heavily on making sure that you are outstanding on the stage, that he realizes that he is working with a pro, not just some guy that says, yeah, I can speak on purpose and is going to get up there. Like, I want him to know he's working with a pro. You are going to dazzle him when you are up there. The reviews are going to be outstanding. And that alone, especially since there's 200 people in the audience and everybody that's in your audience is going to be able to be raving about you, remembering you, and most importantly, referring you. But so is he.
Mhm.
Okay, so I really want you to focus on doing an outstanding job in November. And between now and then, if you can be just like reaching out to 1 or 2 people per day, per week, whatever feels comfortable for you right now, with just letting people know, just reconnecting with them and letting them know, this is what I'm doing next.
Yeah, I was thinking of that as you and I were talking before about podcasting and stuff, because, I have a whole host of people that I've had on my podcast, and probably at least a third of them are Christian men. So I can reach out to them and can reconnect with them and do a podcast on the new topic and reach their audience as well.
Yes, I love that too. Yeah, making sure that you reconnect with everybody that you have even spoken for.
Hmm.
Just because you've gone into a company and, Jane Smith is the one who brought you in to speak for their company or their chamber, you know, there's no reason why you can't be reaching out to people and just letting them know, like, this is what I'm doing now.
Right.
If you know of anybody who, like, I'm going to be talking about X, Y, and Z. And
Right.
it's coming from a very Christian based. And so if you know of any men's group that are looking for speakers, I mean, I recently had somebody on the podcast for a speaker breakthrough session, and she said she was having a really difficult time trying to get into churches. And I found that surprising. And is that what you're noticing also?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
of if it's not my idea, it's not a good idea?
Yeah. And I think what's happened is that I don't know, are you familiar with a gentleman named Eric Metaxas? He does a podcast as well, but he wrote a book a couple of years ago called Letter to the American Church. And in it, he drew parallels between what was going on in the church in Germany in the 1930s when Hitler was coming to power and what's happening in the United States today. And basically his message is that about half of the churches in America today are apathetic. They're just sort of sitting on the fence saying, we don't care. We don't want to be involved. We want to be in our own little box, our own little brick building. Leave us alone. And that's not what God intended the church to be. And
Mm-mm.
so, but breaking through those walls is where the challenge is.
Okay.
So it's almost, as we were talking about before, it's almost like you got to find the people on the inside who will make the introductions and at least give you, get you to a point where you can have an audience with someone to talk about the needs and what I bring to the table as far as helping.
And also building your own stage, which you can do that with your podcast.
Hmm.
And I've done a number of podcast episodes about how to use your podcast to get speaking engagements, and then also how to use your podcast, like, on your website as a way of just like, "Hey, here's your speech. I want you to do s I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, on that there's a couple of episodes, and there's, like, 7 different ways that you can be promoting yourself as a speaker with your podcast and also on your website. Just for example, each of your speeches, you should have an entire podcast episode on it, and letting people know, like, this can be a 1 hour, a half a day, or a full day workshop, and here's the outcomes. This event that's in November, giving people a behind the scenes, what is it like to prepare for an event? And you can be talking about your process. That way, anybody who's listening to this is like, "Oh, Gary's a speaker, and this is how I work with people. Here are some of the questions that I'm gonna be asking, like, during my pre-event meetings." And letting people
So walk them
because
through the whole process.
and just giving them a behind the scenes. So I did this behind the scenes of a speaking event that I did for a large insurance company. Because a lot of times people think, well, we book a speaker, they just show up at the allotted time, 11 o'clock on Zoom. Like, what's the big deal? But there is a huge deal. I walked them through my proposal. I had my meeting. They told me what they wanted. They told me what they needed. They told me what their budget was. Well, guess what? Here's what my proposal was. It was A, B, and C. And I let them decide so I mean, I walked them through everything. That way, if anybody else is listening to that podcast episode, they're going to be like, wow, there's a lot to it.
No,
And
it's why
that,
good speakers may get paid a lot of money because there's so much behind, for a 1 hour speech, you're probably investing a couple of 100 hours of your time, preparing to make sure that you're giving them everything that they want and more.
yes, yes. But a lot of times, especially if you have an organization that's never hired a professional before, they don't know this stuff. Yeah. So there's lots of different ways that I want you to be using your stage, your podcast. So I want to encourage you to probably launch that podcast a lot sooner than later.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah. And getting that done definitely this year. So you have the 2025 stamp on it and not 2026.
Right.
Because people look at that. They're looking at, when did this podcast start? Unlike a book, they look at, how new is this book? They want the latest and greatest.
Okay.
And I would say that
Beautiful.
that's something else that I would work on for you, is also writing a book on leadership.
Already in process. I've got
Gary,
the
and
outline.
I am not surprised, Gary.
Yeah, so it's tying everything together, it's a multi-pronged approach.
It is. And I think taking advantage of this November event, I mean, like 3 cameras, that's amazing. I mean, like to hire a videographer for a speaker, I mean, it can cost you like $10,000 to $15,000. So you putting in the time and really capitalizing on this, and then being able to use it on your new website, just sort of keep in mind what you want that website to look like, and so that you can make sure that you get that sort of video coverage as well. Um, the other thing that I was thinking of is, after you have this great speech, great video, is then to contact Christian speaker bureaus.
Okay.
And so those will be for paid events. Now, I will tell you that from my experience of working with speaker bureaus, and when I say working with, it means like I've actually just done some research on them. The speaker fees seem to be lower than out in the conventional market, but it's still somebody else who is actually helping to promote you.
Right.
So I think you have this amazing opportunity that's coming up in November, and your job is to dazzle them on stage, get them thinking differently, get them on your email list, so that because you never know who's in that audience, who can actually be booking you next.
Exactly. Beautiful.
So did you get some good stuff?
Yes. Absolutely. I always do when I'm with you.
Thank you. So what is 1 or 2 gold nuggets that you're walking away with today?
Well, I think really capitalizing on the event in November and everything leading up to it, and I think, as part of the podcast, like you said, walking people through the process, and also letting them know I'm going to be there, and getting people there, so maybe instead of 200, we can get 250 or 300 there. You never know. So doing that, and then just pulling everything together, focusing on getting the podcast started, moving the book along, so that, so I can use all of them as good tools to be able to promote myself.
Yeah, because if you could have that book done, I mean, you could be selling that book in the back of the room, and those are business cards that people are not going to throw away.
Right. Absolutely.
So, Gary, can you share with everybody where they can find you, follow you, and continue to learn from you?
Absolutely. The best way to find me is on my website. It's at GaryLSmith.com. All my contact information is there, and I'd love to connect with people, especially now. If any of the people in your audience are in the ministry arena, I'd love to have a conversation and get to know them better.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Gary.
Oh, thank you. It's a real pleasure, Laurie-Ann.
And if you would like to book your own speaker breakthrough session, stick around. Are you tired of hearing crickets on social media? Wondering where to get seen by the right people? Or frustrated with the growth of your business? Then the speaker breakthrough session is just for you. During this free 20-minute discovery call, I'll help you recognize where you're leaving money and opportunity on the table. You'll walk away with tips and a strategy to leverage speaking opportunities to get positioned as the expert, visible to the right people, and monetize your expertise. Book your call at speakandstandout.com/SBS for Speaker Breakthrough Session.